Today we're gonna make, what are we gonna make? Oh, we're gonna make Fusco Imports. We're gonna use our 3-flour pizza blend to make a Utica, New York favorite. What we're gonna do, Utica favorite, is tomato pie. It's like pizza, but not quite. And I'm gonna show you how to make it. Okay, we're going to start out with 4 cups of flour, Fusco Imports. Don't worry about the grease spot. The family's blend of three distinct flours for a light, crispy yet chewy crust, and it's able to handle any sauce and all toppings. Of course, this is tomato pie, so it's different. 3-flour pizza blend. I got to get that in. Alright, so we're going to work with 4 cups of our flour. Normally, you know me, I'd be doing this by feel. What's that, 3? Is that 3? Yeah, okay. 4. Okay. And maybe like, I don't know, maybe 2 teaspoons salt. I put in these jars, see? It's a pickle jar. It's a pickle bottle. So I put my... And maybe we'll do 5 cups, just because I think this is going to make a big pizza. You can do 4 cups, okay? And just use maybe a teaspoon of salt, and this is a 1/2 cup of shortening. Okay, you can use, if you're using 4, use maybe a 1/3 of a cup. Okay, of shortening. This is going to give us that kind of a little bit of a Chicago type crust or dough, you know. The way they do a Chicago style pizza, which I'm not crazy about, but they do a pretty good job in Chi-Town. Okay, 1/2 cup if you're using 5 cups of flour. And that's all there is to it. Now we're going to add some water, you know, same deal we always do for the dough. And we're going to mix it up in that machine. Now I'm going to add, I forgot to add the yeast and the sugar, I wouldn't have gone too far. So I'm going to add maybe a tablespoon of yeast, maybe a little more. Just about a tablespoon is good enough. Tablespoon of yeast and tablespoon of sugar. You'll have to measure. I've done this so long, I don't have to measure anymore. We use our dough hook. Okay. Stick that in there. Okay. This is warm water, obviously, to activate the yeast. And we'll start pouring it in a little at a time. We may need about, this is 3 cups, probably a cup and a half, 2 cups. We'll see, little at a time. Let that get going. A little more water. And after a few minutes of mixing up, I'll show you how it looks. Well, what we have is pizza dough, for all intents and purposes, using our Peter's 3-flour blend pizza flour. And you can feel, and you can almost see it on my hand, it's a little bit greasy, see, because of the shortening that we put in the dough. And what this is going to do is, this is going to take a little more time than normal to rise because of the shortening, but it's going to give it a little bit of the dough is going to be a little heartier, a little heavier, but that's what you want for tomato pie. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to grease the bowl with some olive oil, put this in, put some olive oil on top of that so it doesn't form a skin, and let it rise. And when we take it out, we'll start to we'll put it in our rectangular pizza pan. That's the way tomato pie comes, is in a rectangle. All right. As you can see, I'm gonna grease this. Okay. Just I put a little oil. I dipped it around the sides. Right. I poured it around the sides, little bits, little drops, and I'll rub it in the bowl so you can see it. And this is the way. So your dough doesn't stick when you take it out after it's risen. So then what you want to do is you get a little bit of oil in your hand, like so, and you give your dough a nice little rub down. Okay. Put it in the bowl and wait for it. We're going to cover it up. I'm going to cover it with a towel, a mopine, like so, and let it sit for a while. Our dough has risen beautifully. See that? So what and we're going to use maybe 2 pounds. So we're going to weigh it, and we're going to use like 2 pounds of this dough. But what I'm going to do here is I'm not going to use this is an aluminum pan. No matter what you do to these pans, even if you put non-stick in, they're not good for baking straight on them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a piece of parchment. But you can't spread dough on parchment paper, obviously. So what I'm going to do is, I know that this pan is like 16 inches long and about 1 foot wide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spread my dough out and roll it out to those dimensions. And that way we'll just pop it in here, and then we'll let it rise again. And that'll be that. So I have my scale, I have my dough, and we're going to look for about 2 pounds. So I figure that's maybe half of this is 2 pounds. Nope. 2 pounds on the button. This will save. We can always use it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this up together again. Okay. And then this I'm going to save. I'm just going to put this in like a plastic bag and tie it up, because we'll use it. We may even use it today for a little pizza. Okay. Now because tomato pie is a lot thicker, not like so much Sicilian pizza, but it's a lot thicker than regular pizza. You know, a New York style pizza, which is what we make. That's why we have 2 pounds of dough. Okay. So we're going to roll that out to about 16.5 by 12. And we'll start like this. This is it's got some elasticity to it, which is good. You can, you know, that's part of what a good pizza is. And of course, we have the shortening in this, which means it's going to be a little cakier when we're done with it. You can feel it. You know, it's a little heavier than a regular dough, not just because it's 2 pounds, but it's got a nice, it's got a different consistency. It's not like regular pizza. We don't want it to be like regular pizza because tomato pie is tomato pie. So I'm going to roll that out, and when I'm done, we'll get back to the action. Well, we'll get back to whatever. Okay, we're rolling it out. Of course, sometimes it needs a little help, so what we're going to do is we're going to stretch. Okay, like so. All right. We're going to stretch it out because it'll always snap back. Okay, and that should be pretty close to what we're looking for. What you can see is we got it almost the size. Now, you know, you can do this. You can stretch this dough. You don't have to be afraid of it. You know, just stretch it out. All right, so now what we're going to do here is we're going to cover that up okay? And we're gonna let it rise again. But anytime we let it rise the first time about half an hour, okay? And it doubled in size. Now we're gonna let this rise maybe 20 minutes or so. Normally I use a big towel, but I think just for the sake of, because you may not have a big towel like that, we'll use plastic wrap to cover it up, okay? Like that. Let it sit. Okay, that's all you got to do. While we're waiting for the dough to rise again, we're going to make the topping. Okay, this is a can, one of those little cans of tomato paste. You've seen them in the supermarket. Okay, can of tomato paste. And this is a sauce. This is just a regular sauce, but we're going to mix, not a lot, maybe like this spoonful. I bet you that's like 3 tablespoons full, maybe 4, okay? And what we're gonna do is, because it's not the same as a pizza, we're gonna mix this up on my arm. We're gonna mix it up. It's gonna be nice and thick, okay? And all we're going to add to this is a little salt and pepper. So maybe like, I don't know, half a teaspoon of pepper. And maybe half a teaspoon of salt. You don't want anything too heavy in there, because you want that tomato taste, that rich, sweet tomato taste that you get out of the paste. Now other than this, what we're going to put on this pizza, this tomato pie, is just grated Parmesan and Romano cheese. That's it. That's it. Nice, it's plain, and absolutely fantastic. Ask anybody from Utica. All the dough has risen sufficiently. What we're going to do is we're going to take off the plastic wrap. This is called docking your pizza, as you've seen in previous videos. Rises, it won't create this bubble in the middle. So that's what you do. Just a few holes. Now we're going to get just a regular spoon. Well, not a regular spoon, one of these spoons. Spoon like this. And we're going to take this and this is the mixture of the tomato paste. You can see how thick it is, with a little salt and pepper on it. And we're going to spread it around as liberally as we possibly. It's the only time in your life where you ever want. That's the oven telling us that. Oh, we preheated the oven to 450. Thank you, Mr. Oven. And like I said, this is the only time in your life you ever want to be liberal. Little political joke there. So this is one can, one of those small cans of tomato paste. Okay. All right, I'm going to get a spatula and spoon out there and get the rest of that stuff, and then I'm going to spread the cheese on it and we'll put it in the oven. You got to have the utensils. Nothing like big spatulas. So we're going to, because you don't want to waste anything. We waste nothing around here. We waste absolutely nothing. It's a good habit to get into. All right. Now, this is a mixture of Parmesan and Romano cheese. And you don't even want to do too much of this because it's overpowering. You know, these are two heavy-duty cheeses. Now look, mozzarella. Mozzarella is a very complacent cheese. These guys, they'll rough you up, man. So you don't want to, you know, just enough to cover it. Now, I know it sounds, you know, there's a simple taste to this. This is not, you know, this isn't pizza per se. This is tomato pie, okay? And when it bakes up, you'll see what I mean. It's going to bake up nice, and it's going to have a little bit of a crumble to it, as they say. And you'll see it's going to be delicious. So I'm going to put this in the oven at 450, and we're going to let it, what we're going to do is like we do a pizza. We're going to start it on the bottom shelf, not the absolute bottom, you know, like the one up from the bottom on the first rack, and then the second rack should be in the middle of the oven. And then what we'll do is we'll check it every once in a while, see if it's starting to bake on top, or bake generally speaking, and then we'll move them, you know, or we'll move it from one shelf to the other periodically, just to give it just to be so that it bakes all the way through and it bakes properly. Get a nice brownness on the crust and all that. You see, it's up. We've left it on the bottom shelf for about 10 minutes. Okay. Now we're going to take it and we're going to put it on the upper shelf. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to return it to the bottom shelf and maybe keep going back and forth up until we determine that it's done. You'll know that because of how brown it gets on the top. Let's take a look. Oh yeah, see that? See how it's starting to brown? Time to go on the bottom shelf. And we'll check back in another few minutes. Alright, I don't know if you can see how brown that is, but it's getting very brown. And what I'm thinking we're going to do is an old trick that I learned as a making pizza at home for my children for years and years and years. What we're going to do is we're going to take that pizza, that tomato pie, out of the pan and put it right on the rack to really get the bottom crispy and nice. We took it out of the pan and we laid it right on top of the grate. Now we're going to let it sit there for a few minutes. We're going to keep checking underneath. You know, we're going to go with our spatula. We're going to check underneath and make sure that it doesn't get too brown. Okay, this is done. I'm going to show you how done it is in a minute. I don't know if you can see this, but let me show you. Ooh, that's hot. You know what? I'll show you over here. I think you can see this now. You see how brown that is? That's just how we want it. So now, while it's piping hot, we're going to cut it. And the way you cut a pizza like this is actually 1, 2, 3, you can even go 4 here. And then you don't want the pieces too big on a tomato pie, and the reason is because it's pretty heavy as it is. There you have it. Tomato pie. Made with, that's right, I got it right this time, Fusco Imports 3-flour pizza blend. You can't go wrong with this flour. You can make this. And I'm one of the next upcoming videos, I'm going to show you how to make calzones. Unbelievable calzones. And also we're going to make meatballs together. We're going to make a ton of stuff in a very traditional way. And I don't want you to forget my father's book of Southern Italian peasant food. It's my cookbook. It's a very inexpensive cookbook. It has over 240 of the original recipes. And I say original, some of them are over 150 years old. These are the recipes that the immigrants brought to America. And nothing's changed. I mean, these are, you know, we've adjusted for modern products that in other words, you can't get the older products. But other than that, it's a cookbook of truly vintage Italian recipes. So, okay, thank you. and we'll see you the next time.